Wood has been a part of who we are as Indigenous peoples since time immemorial. It has been a sacred resource, integral to our homes, our culture, and our way of life. Today, as we face climate and economic challenges, mass timber offers us a chance to carry that tradition forward, building sustainability while creating economic opportunities. This isn't only about innovation, it's about respect for the environment, for Indigenous knowledge, and for future generations who will inherit this land.
In discussions with some First Nations groups, there have been conversations where they are replanting forests to grow the species of trees that they can use to build their own mass timber buildings in the future.
Mass timber is not only a carbon-neutral building material, but it's also perfectly suited for prefabrication, allowing us to transform construction towards a faster, more efficient, and scalable industry that reduces waste and emissions while delivering high-quality and affordable housing.
Using wood as our primary material isn't new, but with mass timber, we're creating beautiful structures that are both strong and sustainable.
The potential of off-site construction in mass timber is enormous, especially for sustainability. It all begins with a responsible forest management. By planting more trees than we harvest, we secure a sustainable supply for this valuable building material. Trees are exceptional at carbon capture, particularly in the early growth years. A mature tree at around 30 years old can be harvested, locking in that carbon and be used to create strong, resilient buildings. By designing with circular economy principles and reclaiming existing wood fiber from deconstruction or waste streams, we can further extend the lifespan of this carbon storage. Ultimately, nature-based resilient buildings allow us to store carbon and move toward a more sustainable future.
BC's forestry economy is at a crossroads. We've seen a decline in demand, tariffs from the US, and rising challenges within the industry. But with mass timber, we have the potential to revitalize the forestry sector.
There are undeniably challenges within the mass timber space in the industry. I feel we're currently going through a growth stage, and with all the growth, there's inevitably associated growing pains. I find the main challenges around this is educating the methodologies and nuances through ownerships groups, consultants, and trades. As for innovations in the space, I think we'll continue to see innovations in mass timber, certainly in BC, and that this will focus on expanding what the product can be used for, such as greater spans, different patterns, different structures, and the increasing variety of projects it can be used in.
As we face uncertain times, we're learning to come together. Mass timber can unite Indigenous communities, industry leaders, and governments under a shared vision of sustainable growth.
Mass timber offers core advantages. It's sustainable, versatile, and quick to construct, making it ideal for housing. However, we face challenges like supply chain constraints, knowledge gaps in fire safety, and higher initial costs. Exciting innovations are on the horizon, such as hybrid timber systems for taller structures, advanced engineering software, and designs focused on circularity, enabling deconstruction and reuse.
For BC Indigenous Housing Society, this isn't just about building. It's about respect for the land, for our culture, and for future generations.
At Francis Street, Collier's Development Advisory Group is managing a groundbreaking mass timber project for the BC Indigenous Housing Society. With a focus on understanding and leveraging evolving building standards and code requirements for both moisture management and fire protection, this project sets a new benchmark for sustainable and resilient housing.
For this project, our team was tasked with manufacturing the passive house envelope panels that define the building's energy efficiency. With our dedicated team, advanced robotics, and off-site manufacturing, we could coordinate the intricate basket weave design into our production capabilities.
With mass timber, we've learned that innovation requires adaptation, but with each project, we're getting better, and the industry is learning and evolving.
One of the greatest challenges in our rainforest-like climate is keeping the mass timber materials dry throughout the construction process. To mitigate that requires designing provisions into the building details, employing practical systems that allow mass timber to be installed relatively dry and also to allow it to dry out when inevitably it gets some degree of wetting.
British Columbia has become a global leader in mass timber construction, driven by innovative policies and sustainability efforts. Recent updates to the BC Building Code have raised height limits from 12 stories to 18 stories, allowing for greater exposure of mass timber in various structures.
Every mass timber project represents a step toward our collective responsibility to care for the planet, supporting BC in leading the way in green innovation.
There are opportunities for innovation in mass timber. Programs are being developed to create new products from reclaimed wood that comes out of deconstructed buildings and from forest thinnings and wildfire prevention practices. By specifying reused wood products, we can meaningfully reduce upfront embodied carbon emissions, as well as reduce the need for new timber harvested.
Investing in mass timber is an investment in a renewable future. It creates jobs, reduces environmental impacts, and lays the groundwork for future generations to come.
The single biggest constraint to housing supply is not inefficient local government permitting, it's not interest rates, it's labor force. For over a decade, in a low-interest era, most local governments across BC have been approving far more housing than is ever being built. Our biggest challenge is we simply can't get the boots on the ground in construction sites, and it's only going to get worse.
The nonprofit societies will require a grant from the government in order to bring the costs down to be competitive with concrete. Because if that doesn't happen, you have to pay higher costs. The government has to subsidize higher costs over the next 35 years. If nonprofit groups were to get grants from the government, then the projects would be viable. Once they do get these grants, I would suggest that over a period of time, mass timber would become competitive with concrete because of the supply, increased supply, decreased cost.
Wood is one of the few natural elements that can achieve design flexibility, reduce carbon emissions, increase sustainability, and improved occupant well-being. Mass timber buildings with prefabricated facades generally achieve higher levels of energy performance with smaller amounts of insulation than their concrete and steel cousins.
Mass timber is about more than construction. It's about connection. It's about finding a way to honor the land, support Indigenous economic development, and bring communities together in the face of global challenges.
For good reason, too, as mass timber represents some amazing opportunities, particularly in BC and the Pacific West Coast. Mass timber requires a different approach to construction in order to be successful, and this starts long before the products we use are even manufactured.
Projects like Chief Leonard George on Francis Street, The Hive, or Vienna House show us what's possible when we bring together creativity, sustainability, and the unique beauty of wood.
Mass timber is a major pillar in a modernized approach to construction. These manufacturing plants generate exponentially more revenue per cubic meter of wood than our traditional industries. They offer long-term job security in small towns, Indigenous communities, and big cities. This is a sector where BC should be allocating its fiber.
These projects aren't just buildings. They're symbols of a sustainable future and places that connect people to their community and the environment. Every mass timber structure in BC represents a step forward, a way to honor our heritage while building a path to a greener, more inclusive future. As we move forward, let mass timber be a reminder of our responsibility to this land, to each other, and to future generations. Hechka, OCM.